This is the Nissan Ariya, a fully electric 5-seat family SUV that right-sizes the argument for electrification from the brand in Australia. And in this review, I'm going to tell you all about it, the stuff you need to know about the interior usability, the practicality, the ownership considerations, and the best alternatives to it. So let's check out the Ariya, shall we? Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Believe it or not, the Nissan Ariya was first revealed more than 5 years ago, but it still looks pretty fresh in the highly competitive mid-sized electric SUV segment in Australia today. And let me tell you, there's plenty on offer when it comes to the model range for the Nissan Ariya. They're all 5-seaters, all fully electric, but there are some different battery sizes and powertrain offers, which I'll tell you about as we go along. Now, the entry-level version, it's called Engage. It's a front-wheel drive EV with a smaller battery, and I'll get to the battery specs in a sec. But let me tell you about the price and specs for that entry-level Engage. It comes with LED lighting all around, comes with 19-inch alloy wheels as standard, no spare wheel though. You get proximity entry, heated power folding exterior mirrors, a 12.3-inch digital instrument cluster, and a 12.3-inch touchscreen infotainment system with sat-nav standard, wireless Apple CarPlay standard, wired Android Auto standard, a wireless phone charger, 6-speaker sound system, leather accented steering wheel, and dual zone climate control. Up from there is the Advance. Now, it has the same powertrain, front wheel drive, small battery, but it does add a few features that you might really like for a couple of extra $1,000, including LED front fog lights, a hands-free power tailgate, rear privacy glass, cloth and leatherette upholstery, but also heated front seats, a heated steering wheel, a 10-speaker Bose sound system, and power adjustable front seats. Up from there is the Advance Plus grade. Now, it adds a bigger battery with a little bit more power. It's still front wheel drive, but it does have extra spec and tech to make it more appealing to justify its extra cost, because it does cost quite a bit more. Now, the Advance Plus comes with panoramic glass roof, sequential LED indicators, fake leather upholstery with ultra suede inside. There's also more power adjustment for the front seats, heated and ventilated front seats as well, and heated rear window seats too. Plus the driver gets a head-up display, and there's a power sliding center console, which is actually pretty nifty. And then if you want everything that you can possibly get in the Nissan Ariya, well, the one behind me is the one to go for. It's the Evolve E-Force. It has dual motor, all-wheel drive, the big battery pack, and the most power and torque. So it's the fastest one as well, but not fast by class standards per se. Now, it comes with a bunch of extra spec and tech, including 20-inch alloy wheels. It also gets faster AC charging. It's got adaptive headlights. There's a matte chrome window surround. You get a snow drive mode. There's also a digital rear view mirror, blue Napa leather upholstery on the inside, and power adjustment for the steering wheel as well. But it is getting up there when it comes to the price. So let's talk about some alternatives that you might want to consider, because geez, there's some good ones. Okay, let's talk about some options that you might want to consider if this isn't quite right for you for whatever reason. Well, firstly, the Zeekr 7X is one I would highly recommend you check out. It is a very impressive thing in terms of the standard spec and the pricing. It starts at a very low price point, but still has heaps of EV driving range from the entry-level grade up. The mid-spec one has more than 600 Ks of claimed driving and very fast charging as standard, but also a luxurious interior and lots of great standard spec and tech. Sure, it might be a lesser known brand and it might be a new model in the mix, but it is really great. Another option you might want to consider if you are okay with the idea of buying something that maybe isn't from an established player, the Xpeng G6. It is lovely. There's a couple of different versions available, and it is very easy to get along with, that Xpeng. It's got a nice interior, luxurious finishes, and it's pretty good to drive, I have to say. And finally, if you are looking for an established player with a very good EV, the Volkswagen ID.4 is totally worth looking at. It starts just under $60,000 for the rear-wheel drive. There's an all-wheel drive version closer to the 70 grand mark, which is much faster. I don't think you really need it, but I do think that the ID.4 could be a great choice if you are looking for an EV from an established player in the market with a mainstream presence. So what would you do? Would you choose any of those or something else? Have your say in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Now, this car has been around for quite some time on the international stage, and I do think that it still looks pretty fresh. For a design that is essentially 5 years old, I do think that it's got some presence to it, especially in this top spec version. And one other thing I want to call out about it is it's not as big as you might think it is. Just under 4.6 meters long. There are lots of other players in the EV 5-seat SUV segment which are up to 20 or 30 centimeters longer. This is not that big, even though it looks pretty substantial. I do like the design of it, although I don't necessarily think it looks that different or that much like a Nissan compared to some of the other rivals out there. In fact, to my eye, it looks a bit like a Cherry, but maybe it's the Cherry looks like this. But anyway, it's got real door handles, people. That's great. Proximity unlocking just for the front doors though, so the back doors don't have that clever unlocking. But let's have a look at these door opening widths. They are very good. As you can see, that is almost 90 degrees. It is a nice wide opening for you to put your kids in the back, and the doors are light too, so that is something that is a plus in my mind. Now let's have a look at the back end. Probably the most Cherry-ish angle right here, but it's also very familiar from other Chinese EVs. Now it does have the coupe style roofline. Does that have an impact on boot space? Let's check it out. And you can see here, it's not as big as some rivals, and it's not as squared off as some rivals either. So it might be a little bit limited, and the cargo capacity does suggest that it is a bit limited, 466 litres. That's smaller than some of the rivals in the class, but it does have some good inclusions like shopping bag hooks and lights, and they are on both sides of the boot area, which is great. There are little side trenches too. As you can see, both sides have those. And underneath here, you're going to find your 12-volt battery, and you're also going to find a subwoofer, and underneath here you're going to find a tyre repair kit and some space for your charging cables. But you will not find a spare in this car because it doesn't have it, and it also doesn't have a frunk, no matter which version you pick. So yes, I wonder if those limitations might limit the appeal of this vehicle. Have your say in the comments. Okay people, let's have a look at the interior of this high-spec version of the Ariya. And the high-spec version does feel a little bit more special because it does get this blue Napa leather interior trim, which looks awesome and is very, very lovely to sit on. It's a nice seat, very comfy. And I also do like this blue suede that runs across the dashboard and on the doors. It makes it feel very cohesive and very interesting compared to some of the more conservative or boring interiors that you might find in other vehicles in this segment. Now, there's also this wood look panel that runs across the dashboard here. I'm fairly sure it's not real wood, maybe it is, but it's certainly an interesting piece of interior architecture. And it does have some interesting elements to the controls here. So you do have these haptic style controls, as you can see there. If I touch them, it's sort of touch sensitive. There's pressure controls underneath there, and it's a pretty neat little piece of design. Now, there's plenty of inclusions when it comes to what you're getting in this high grade version, but all come with these 12.3 inch screens. So you've got your 12.3 inch driver info screen right there, which does have a bit of configurability to it. You can search through a few different menus and see what's been going on with the car, with your battery capacity, where you're going, that sort of stuff. But yeah, it's pretty good, I have to say, in terms of the usability of that screen. You've got your range up the top there, and yes, you've also got your EV driving efficiency on that side. That'll also show you if you are using your e-pedal. So there's a button down there, another wooden taptic thing where you press that and it should activate the e-pedal. It's not full single pedal driving, but hey, I'll tell you more about that later on. And you've also got your drive mode switches down there too. And the gear selector takes a little bit of getting used to, I have to say. You've got to make sure that if you are going to put it into reverse, you don't just try and push it up. You have to push that in and then go up into reverse and then down for your drive or B mode, which will be a more assertive regen. Now, if you're wondering what those little switches right there are, that's because in the top 2 specs, you get this electric sliding center section, which is actually pretty nifty. It means you can partition this space pretty nicely. And when it comes to the other elements here, you've got some decent sized cup holders with a cover if you want to use that, and a wireless phone charger there. Little spot behind there as well with extra storage, and down in front of that section you've also got some more storage with some USB ports too. And speaking of storage, in here there's a little sort of glove boxy bit, and you'll find your electronic park brake down there, and you've got a glove boxy bit down there too. So lots of storage, big bottle holders in the doors, and overhead you've got some vanity mirrors with illumination, and they don't slide, so that might be an issue. You do get grab handles for everyone, and in the high grade versions you also get a panoramic glass roof, and here you've got a digital camera mirror in this very high spec version of this car. So if you can't see what's happening behind you, well, you can see what's happening behind you with a camera instead. That's pretty neat. There's a sunglasses holder, and the controls for your glass roof are there. Now let's have a little bit more of a look at this 12.3-inch screen. So yeah, you can see it's got CarPlay, it's wirelessly available. If you want to use Android Auto, you have to plug in for that. But this screen, I mean, it looks a little bit old already for some reason. It feels a little bit like it's got some kind of matte sheen over the top of it. And when it comes to what's beyond that, well, you do have built-in sat-nav across all grades, which is good. You can check on there where your nearest charging stations are as well, which is pretty handy. But beyond that, this screen is a little bit on the basic side. So there's a couple of menus and stuff that you can have a look at and see your energy usage and a clock and so forth as well. Your settings are up the top there in a very small little menu, but you do have some adjustability to those settings if you want to. It's not the most in-depth screen, and if you are looking for a more high-tech experience, maybe it won't be the ideal choice that you could make. Now I just need to call out here, as you can see, when I put the Apple CarPlay screen away, it takes away my seat controls, so I have to go back home or to one of the other screens here if I want to adjust things like my seat cooling, heating, or my steering wheel heating. But I do have those controls down below for the climate settings if I do want to make changes there. So yes, you do have a recirc button. You've got also demisters down there too, and a push button starter as well. Plus, I like this, you get a volume dial, some little tuning switches there as well, and a hazard light button there too. So look, I think that the interior here is pretty good until we get to these controls, which I think also are decent, but I don't like the fact that it's a piano black and it's a bit fingerprinty. And you do have conventional controls for your blinkers, so right side for blinkers, left side for light and wiper, and down here there are a few more controls as well, including your auto hold button. So if you want the car not to creep forward in traffic, you have to have that on. You've got a boot switch button there as well, and a couple of other ones too. So you've also got memory settings for the driver's seat if you want to set that up. Conventional window controls and mirror controls, I like that about it. And yeah, there's a head-up display, as you can see there too, which does make a difference. It's in the high-grade versions, and I do think it does have a nice look and nice feel, and feels very comfy. But there's one thing that might not be ideal if you're a big unit. It's quite small. So for someone my height, 6 foot, I feel like I'm cramped. And in fact, at times when I've been leaning forward to see something, I've bashed my hat on that. And if you're 6'4", 6'6", I don't think you're gonna fit, quite frankly. Now, speaking of whether you can fit, let's check out the back seat. Second row space. So this seat is set for my driving position at 6 foot tall. My toe room is quite tight. Lots of knee room though, so that's pretty decent. Headroom, again, a bit of a concern. So if you are a tall family, you might need to rethink whether the Nissan Ariya is going to be the right car for you. But you do have overhead grab handles, little hooks up there. There are lights with a touch button as well, which is nice. And down here, you've got some good amenities. So you've got map pockets, there's bottle holders in the doors, nice soft finishes here as well, and up here too. And you've got some good features when it comes to back here. You've got some directional air vents, that's handy. There's outboard seat heating if you want to keep the bums of those in the window seats nice and toasty. USB-C ports as well. And as I said, this section does slide forwards and backwards. So if it's in its foremost position, then you will have a lot more space. It's a nice flat floor, so you can fit 3 adults back here if you need to. And look, This back seat is quite a comfy one, I have to say, and it does have a flip down armrest with some cup holders as well. And yes, you've got ISOFIX points with zippers, which is nice to keep the gunk out of there, and 3 top tethers too. So I think that if you can fit, like if you don't have a really big tall family, it might be okay, but if you are on the higher side of humanity, then you might find it to be a little bit tight. Rightio people, there are a few numbers to consider here. So the entry-level Engage and Advanced models have a single electric motor at the front axle with 160 kilowatts and 300 Newton meters. They're front-wheel drive with a single-speed transmission, and if you choose the Advanced Plus spec, because it gets the bigger battery, it gets a little bit of a power bump, 178 kilowatts, 300 Newton meters, but still front-wheel drive. And then there's this one here, which is the Evolve. It has 320 kilowatts and 600 Newton meters, so plenty of grunt, but it is heavier. So because it's got the dual motor all-wheel drive and still with the big battery, it is a bit of a heavy machine, but it also has the best towing capacity. So if you do need to tow, that might be worth keeping in mind. And it's also the fastest as well. I'll put some 0 to 100 times on your screen for the front wheel drive versions, and also to give you a bit of context for the all-wheel drive Evolve. And honestly, that is not the fastest for a dual motor EV, but let's talk about the range and charging stuff that you need to know. Okay, so I mentioned a little bit earlier that there are a couple of different batteries on offer in this lineup. The Engage and Advanced models have a 63 kilowatt hour battery pack, and they also have less than 400 Ks of EV driving range. 385 is the claim, which is a little bit low by class standards, but if you want, there is a bigger battery. You can spend more to get into the Advanced Plus or the Evolve model, and you'll get an 87 kilowatt hour battery. Now the Advanced Plus has single motor front wheel drive, so it's got 504 Ks of claimed range. The Evolve has the dual motor system with more aggressive tires and bigger wheels, so it gets a bit less range, 487 kilometers. Now, when it comes to charging, there's a bit to talk about too. So your charge port is on the front passenger side, so good for curb parkers, but 7.4 kilowatts is the standard AC charge rate for the 3 entry-level versions, but you can get the Advanced Plus with the optional 22 kilowatt 3-phase onboard charger if you wish, and that comes as standard on this dual motor all-wheel drive version, and it means that you'll be able to do a much faster charge if you do have 3-phase 22 kilowatt power available to you. Now when it comes to DC charging, all versions have the same DC charge rate. It's not a very fast one either, and it will mean that your 10 to 80% recharge at a rapid charger will be between 35 and 40 minutes depending on the battery spec of the vehicle that you pick. So it's a little bit behind the times in terms of the battery considerations, but let's go see what it's like to drive, because that might change your mind. All right, so what's the Nissan Ariya like to drive? Well, in round terms, it's pretty good. It's not the most thrilling, but it is pretty agreeable in terms of the drive experience, and part of that comes down to the fact that it doesn't have annoying safety systems, but it doesn't seem to be too annoying when it comes to your speed sign recognition. It won't beep to tell you that it's changed zone, and also there is no driver monitoring camera, so that means that it's going to be less annoying from that perspective too. Plus, you get a pretty agreeable lane keeping system that will actually work when it should. So I think that the safety tech is well done for this car. When it comes to the rest of the drive experience, well, it's pretty well done as well. It's not the most enjoyable electric SUV to drive, but it is a pretty decent drive experience in round terms. So the front wheel drive ones, they're a little bit less fun than this dual motor all-wheel drive, which does have a fair bit more poke to it. It does throw you back in your seat, even in eco mode, and you've got a couple of drive modes to play with if you wish as well. But I think that the front wheel drive ones just feel like they're maybe a bit basic feeling, not as fun, not as thrilling. This one is a bit more enjoyable, and obviously it does have the sure-footedness that you get with the all-wheel drive system. So electric motors at front axle and rear axle means that you've got both a lot of push when you need it, but also a little bit more tenacity when it comes to powering in and out of corners and that can be helpful. Now, the ride, I think that, well, it's not perfect. I've driven two versions today, the front wheel drive high spec and this all-wheel drive, both with the big battery. So maybe the lighter, small battery versions will actually be better to drive in terms of the ride comfort. There's a beep, 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 I'm not really sure why. But I do think that it is a little bit lumpy, bumpy feeling. It doesn't feel overly cushy or cosseting. You do feel a lot of the changes in the road surface. Little lumps and bumps can come through into the cabin, and it feels stiff. So it's not going to be to all tastes, there's no doubt about that, but at least it steers pretty decently and the refinement is good. It's a quiet car and it feels pretty primo from that perspective. Now, another consideration is the regen braking. So it does have actually a pretty honest feel to the pedal. It's not as wooden or as odd feeling underfoot when it comes to actual friction braking, but there is a regen braking system. Of course, there's even an e-pedal mode, but it won't come up to a full stop for you. So it will get down to, let's say, about 10 k's an hour. So we're slowing down. We're facing downhill a little bit. We're about 10 k's an hour right now. And even on a slight uphill, it will continue to still roll along. So it won't come to a full stop like some other cars, but I do think that the fact that you've got the regen braking and you've also got a B mode, if you want it to feel a little bit more assertive in terms of that regen braking, then you will have that opportunity, because it does mean that it does have a bit more of an involving experience if that's what you want from your EV. I know there are other people out there who prefer it to just feel like their old internal combustion engine car. And hey, either way, you decide. There are a couple of numbers when it comes to the official energy consumption figures for this vehicle. So first and foremost, you've got the entry-level versions with the smaller battery. You'll see the figure for them on your screen now. That's a pretty decent number for a single motor EV. Not great, but decent. And then there's the Advanced Plus model, which has the bigger battery, so it's heavier, but still has similar power and torque to those entry-level versions. You'll see that number on your screen. And of course, the dual motor all-wheel drive version is the thirstiest. You'll see the claim for it on your screen. Now, as I said, I've driven two versions today, the Advanced Plus and this high-grade Evolve, and I'll put what I saw in both instances on your screen now, so you can see what you can realistically expect to achieve if you do a lot of, well, mixed driving. It has been a mix of driving today. It hasn't just all been highway and beautiful roads. It's been some highway, but also freeway and stop-start and urban driving with some traffic here and there and a little bit of country windy stuff too. So actually a pretty good representation of what you will probably achieve in real-world driving. A few years ago, the Nissan Ariya achieved the maximum ANCAP safety rating because it's been on sale in New Zealand for a while, and that rating now applies to Australia too, and it's got plenty of standard spec and tech as well. There's autonomous emergency braking with pedestrian and cyclist detection. You've got adaptive cruise control with steering assist and lane keeping if you want that. Plus there is blind spot monitoring and rear cross traffic alert. There's a speed sign recognition system, thankfully not too annoying, and there is a driver attention alert system, but it's not annoying like some others with the camera that looks at your eyes all the time. So that means that it's pretty enjoyable to live with, and the safety tech is pretty decent, although I will say that the entry-level version still only comes with a reversing camera. All the other grades get a surround view camera, and I think a surround view camera should be standard across the entire range personally. Now, when it comes to the airbags, there are 7 dual front side, a front center airbag to prevent head clashes and a side impact, and curtain coverage for all the window seat occupants. As standard, Nissan offers a 5-year unlimited kilometre warranty, but the brand does have the conditional 10-year 300,000 kilometre warranty, provided that you service with their workshops. So if you do decide that you want to service with Nissan, you can get up to 10 years and 300,000 Ks of warranty, which is excellent. When it comes to the battery though, you don't get that level of cover. There's an 8-year 160,000 K warranty for the battery pack. And when it comes to your servicing, you'll see the intervals on your screen now. And of course, the brand has a cap price servicing plan. You'll see the details for it up there too. And if you do decide to go with Nissan, then you are getting 12 months of free roadside assist. And if you service with the brand, they'll top it up to a maximum of 10 years. So seems to stack up all right from the ownership perspective. If this car had come out 2 years ago, even 12 months ago, it would have been more compelling than it is today, because it is a bit limited by some of those charging considerations. And while it is nice to drive, the price might be a little bit high considering you're not getting as much EV range as you can from some rivals out there. But is the appeal of a known brand worth spending extra for? I'd love to know what you think, and the potential for that 10-year warranty does seem pretty promising. But hey, have your say in the comments. Thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and I'll see you when I see you.